Dude, that's the place that we needed to be.
Live on YouTube. So
Dude,
if you
how have you
guys are
been, bro?
watching on YouTube, we are live on YouTube. I'm good, man. How you been?
Bro, life's good, man. I didn't realize how much I don't work on Fridays until we have a call every Friday.
I still do work on Fridays, and that's actually like I'm going to be running into a P&L call right after this, and then it looks like I have another call about. Dude, you want to hear something interesting that I'm doing?
Let's hear
This
it.
is I just saw this on my calendar, so I was like, oh, we can talk about this. So we can talk about tax strategies for a little bit. I've got a couple of interesting tax strategies because I've got a pretty fat tax bill coming up in 2025. I'm about to pay my fat tax bill for 2024. So I was at an event a couple of weeks ago, and one of my buddies is a developer in San Diego, and we have this property that's down in Chula Vista, where he does some developments. And I was like, hey, dude, if you want to take a look at this deal, I got one in San Diego. He's like, oh, dude, I could buy this. I could put some ADUs on it, make it a 4 unit. And I was like, all right, cool. Like we could wholesale it to you. And he's like, well, weren't you just complaining about your tax bill? I was like, yeah. He's like, why don't you just sell it to me? I'll pay basically your team's commission. So our team's going to get paid out on that. You come on title with me, and then we cost seg it. And so he talked to his CPA, and we looked at how much we're going to cost seg. And so if I wholesaled it, I'm going to make like 20 grand. If we do the cost
Mhm.
seg, I'll get like 100 grand of losses from the cost segregation. So it'll be
Nice.
like it'll make me more money. I'll pay a lot less in taxes. And I've never done anything creative like that. I'm not going to have to lift a finger. I'm not going to have to raise money for it or anything like that. He's going to do all of it. But then I'm going to do the cost seg, so I'm going to get the benefits. So I've got a call right after this on my calendar to call him. What do you do for taxes, bro?
Dude, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, for taxes, I'd say main thing is whatever my CPA tells me is the first thing, but no, on all seriousness. Um, dude, I'd say for the most part, I don't do anything crazy. I just try to get into like the what is it, the 24% tax bracket. Basically make sure
Mhm.
each year I can get to that point, and then I just pay those taxes. So, um, like one year I bought like $100,000 of like crypto miners, and you could take all the depreciation year one.
Mm.
Buying 6,000 pound car when you get a new car. Um, let's see what else. I took some L's and some crypto, so that helped one year a little bit. Like 50K. That was a nice little write off, and then
Yeah.
invest in some syndications. So that's been another one. I did that again this year. And then I'm gonna cost seg my one of my houses this year. And then
Nice.
I'm buying a commercial. Well, it's not finalized yet, but we're putting together a deal with the like a triple net lease on like this Pizza Hut, like building Pizza Huts in. Um,
What?
yeah, so basically it's gonna be we're actually gonna be able to structure it where we're gonna come out of pocket. So it's about like a 600K purchase. So it's not anything crazy,
Yeah.
but and it's slightly underwater, the lease, because it's bad lease for the next 6 years. So we're gonna basically lose like $500 a month, but then we're gonna be able to buy it with like 10 grand out of pocket. So but in 6 years when we release, it'll be worth 1.2 million. So
Oh,
that'll be
nice.
pretty cool. Um, and then another one too is like I run all my income through this helps with like FICA tax, but I run all my income through just a C corp, excuse me, or no, sorry, it's a the
It's
entity is
an
just
S
like a
corp.
regular LLC, and then I own the shares in an S corp, so I can save like all the income in that. I just don't pay FICA, which is nice, dude.
I'm doing
Otherwise, I
that.
mean,
I'm doing
yeah,
that this
otherwise
year
like
too.
just some of the basic things you can do, um, and like yeah, I mean, you still pay a good
You
amount
want
of
to hear
taxes,
something
I'd say.
interesting that
What are you doing?
so this is the so I'm
Oh, one other thing too, a side note that I'm
yeah.
doing this year. I learned about this year, is if you have a basically like a solo entity that no one else owns any shares in, you don't have any W-2 employees, then you're able to take that salary, and so basically you can every year invest into like a Roth IRA, which I'm doing this the first year. So you can do 21K into the Roth plus 25% your salary for an employer match. So like I'll be able to do like, I think my CPA said like 45,000 into that. That'll like lower my income plus I put in there. And he said then I'll do like then just do loans
That's
and
what I
then
was
a couple
wondering.
deals a
So
year in there.
that's always what I've been hesitant about with that strategy is like I don't want to tie my money up until I'm 60. You know what I mean? Like I have real estate, so I could just live off of that when I'm 60. It's like that was
Mhm.
my hesitancy. But you're saying you're just gonna pull loans from it. You can just loan against
Yeah,
it.
he said you can do loans against it, and that's like the strategy. So it's
I
like
got a
a
crazy one
collateral
for you.
loan. What's that?
So this I've never heard of this, but there's a guy who runs one of the masterminds I used to be in, and they have a TV show. And basically, what you can do, it's like a 4-to-1 write off. So whether I invest like 50 or 100 grand, let's say I invest 100, I'll get 400K back. So it sounds like they're doing something similar to a cost seg.
Mhm.
Now there is activity, like we have to participate and stuff like that inside of it. But if I invest 100 grand into this TV show, which honestly, if I invest 100 grand, I lose 100 grand, but I get a 400K write off, like whatever. I think
Yeah.
it could completely bust. And the guy that ran it told me that he's like, yeah, like this is really, it just makes sense for as a tax strategy. And so that's one of the things I'm just finalizing the
So he's doing
details
a
with my
TV
CPA.
show.
Yeah, a TV show, and then somehow I'm assuming that they're doing like a cost seg on the equipment because I'm guessing the
Mm,
TV show is
yeah, makes sense.
expensive.
Heavy
I
equipment.
probably
Yeah.
shouldn't even be talking about this live because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But I have a good CPA who basically grilled the guy and was like, "Yeah, this is everything you got to watch out for. But if you want to do it, I mean, you can definitely do it." So I'm this has been my year of like in the last 2 years I've had apartments that I've been able to do cost segs.
Hmm.
Like the hotel we did a cost seg on, and I got like 600 grand and losses from that in 23, and then we did another one in 24. So I haven't had to worry about some of the crazy strategies because I just we wouldn't even raise money. We would just buy, like me and two other guys. It was Dave Pere and one of our
Hmm.
friends, Hugh. We would just buy apartment complexes or buy like a hotel or something like that, and then we could do a cost seg and we could take it all. But this year, I haven't really bought a ton of real estate. Actually, 2025. I don't think I bought anything. Yeah, I haven't bought anything this year. So I'm like, all right, shit, what am I going to do for taxes?
Hmm.
And now I'm getting creative. And so if we buy this house in Chula Vista, that'll be one. And then with this TV show, I might be able to get myself down a good bit. But I do pay taxes. I'm not one of those like, oh, dude, I don't pay any taxes. I pay my taxes. You know what I mean?
Bro, yeah. I paid a lot. I mean, yeah, dude, I paid a lot of taxes as well.
Yeah, but it actually
Yeah, a lot
helps
of taxes.
because I'm gonna be buying a house in Miami
Yeah,
in the
it's way
next.
easier, dude, when you have an actual tax return.
That's the only thing that I'm worried about is if I do all of these cost segs, I'm just the next thing I'm trying to figure out to finalize
Hmm.
is can I qualify, can I buy a
Yeah,
house? Because Miami, dude, like the places that I'm looking, you can't buy a house under 1.5 million.
yeah.
And so, you have to
You need like at
actually
least
show some
350,
income.
400 of income. Yeah. So, or I guess it'd be closer to 300. But so I have a good loan officer friend who can unwind all that stuff.
Me too.
So
Yeah, because I
okay,
was a
good.
mortgage lender, so she
That's
helps
right.
me with all. Like, I basically I send her my tax returns. Like, I sent her my tax returns before I filed 24. I'm going to send her before I file 25, and just kind of like find that happy
Yeah. I
medium
mean,
of like
like
what do I need to qualify.
at the end of the day, like these they can see like you can like reverse engineer all the things you were doing.
Yeah,
It's like yes, you invested this money in this deal and you just it's like it's kind of common sense, like obviously not every bank is going to do the deal, like I mean maybe Wells Fargo is not going to do it, but there's a ton of lenders who will do that kind of thing, so
Arjun's a savage. I see Arjun.
that's
He's in
it.
my advanced group. Dude, I love seeing these. Arjun, I don't know if you're still on, but are you 19? Are you 20? Young
That's
kids, dude.
crazy.
Like you were young when you got into wholesaling, though. Weren't you like in your early
It's 20.
20s when you started
Yeah, like
making?
20 or 20, I think it was 20, like I just turned 21 like right when I started, so I was like did think the yeah, I turned 21 like right when I started.
How old were you
Did,
when you started making like how old were you when you crossed 7 figures?
my business
Yeah.
first year 700, and then so I turned 20. Yeah, so we did our first $1 million in total revenue in a year. We did in the first like 6 months of me being 22.
Yeah, that's great. Dude, when I was
Yeah.
22, I was fucking sitting in a bush or in a building with a sniper rifle. Like, that was my I wasn't even thinking about real I didn't even know like people bought houses back then, dude. I was a retard when I was
Did
22.
you use a
I
VA
was
loan to buy like your first couple of deals, or how?
I used the VA loan to buy my first house. I bought it for like 450 grand. I sold it for 670 grand.
That's
And it
nice.
went up in like 2 years. Yeah, I bought it in Southern California. So that was my first house. It's funny, like I've told this story before. For me, I was always like in the Marine Corps. My first couple of paychecks, I say couple, like my first paychecks for like the first year I was in the Marine Corps. I thought $1,200 was a lot of money because I had never
Hmm.
made real money. So I was like, I have $1,200 to spend on guns. And that's exactly what I did, dude. I just bought a new gun every single month. And like, or I would save. I ended up buying like a $9,000 sniper rifle that I custom built. And I made like 12 grand that year. I had like probably 12, 13 grand. And then eventually when I went on deployment, I was like, shit, I can't spend money anymore. There was no internet. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere. So I ended up saving money and I started. And when you're in special operations, you get hazard pay. And so I got some extra pays. I got jump pay for like if you jump out of planes, you get extra pay. And
That's kind
so
of
I was,
sick. You
yeah, so
jumping
I
all
was
the time,
getting,
bro.
yeah, I was getting out of these extra pay, and then I couldn't spend it. So eventually, I was like, oh, and I thought this was a lot of money back then. I was like, I got 30 grand. What do I do with this? And some officer
But
in
when
the
you have zero
military.
life expenses, you're like, that's a ton
Oh,
of
dude,
money.
yeah, I was living on a freaking ship, bro, and like in the or like in a tent in the Middle East, and like I didn't have a single expense, and so yeah, all I had to pay for was I didn't have to pay for anything actually. Now that I think about it, my meals were covered, everything was covered, so I was completely good. So I saved a bunch of money, and then that basically just was like, all right, what do I do with this? And that's how I got into real estate. But I don't think I really got into real estate until I was 25 or so.
Hmm.
24, 25 is when I like, and that I don't even consider myself an investor. I bought my own house and then I rented it out for like a year and a half and then I sold it. That was like my first investment experience.
Yeah.
Then I bought a
But, but but
duplex.
but then you made like 200K and you're like, dude, I'm a genius.
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely. Then I started making money. And then my first like so then like right out of the military, my first 2 years, I bought over 100 doors in like 2 years.
That's actually
Uh
pretty impressive.
yeah, because I was making good money and I was, dude, I'll tell you when I was young. And Arjun, dude, if you're on, bro, give you guys for you young guys, I'll give you guys some advice that was smart for me. So I was pocketing like 30, 40K a month net. And I literally just took every single penny and just bought real estate. So at the time, for a while, I was a mortgage lender too, like right before I really got into flipping houses. And we had to do these like budgeting calls where they look at how much money you make, how much money you spend. It'd be like every other month, it'd be like 60 grand would just empty my account. It's like I spend like 60, 50 grand, 60 to 70 grand. I'd buy a house and then I'd like get my savings up and I'd just do that. And it was a good decision, man. Like, I hopefully you can still do that right now and it makes sense. I know you can buy cash and it will make sense, but I lived with like friends, and so I'd live in a bedroom, and my expenses would be like $1,500. At the time, I was young, so I was dating. So like my main was expense like taking girls out out to like dinners in San Diego, and that was it, bro. Everything else, I didn't even buy a nice car until I could make the month. So like I bought a $60,000 car when I crossed $60,000 a month, and so everything was like super super cheap for me. And that's what you got to do when you're young. So Arjun's 18 right now,
Dude,
getting
that's
into
crazy.
wholesaling. Imagine you're
Yeah.
22, dude. You're going to be making at least 7 figures a year if you just stick
Hmm.
with it. That's 4 years. I don't know very many people that stick with it for 4 years and don't make 7 figures if they do all the right things. They get the right coaching and stuff like that, and then just buy real estate. And you pretty much set yourself up in like 5 to 10 years.
100%. Yeah, dude, I'd say like if I could go back and do it again, I'd say that was my biggest dumbass mistake is not buying real estate whenever I was started
Interest
making
rates
money
are
and
low.
said, yeah, exactly. And then I just instead spent on stupid ass shit and lost a bunch of money on investing in crypto and all kinds of other things. I
Well,
probably lost.
eventually,
I think I lost like $250,000 just doing some dumbass shit.
eventually
So
I lost a shitload of money. So in 22, when the interest rates flipped, I had 5 active flips, and so I lost a bunch of money. It caught up to me. I did eventually lose a bunch of money.
I think
Um,
that's inevitable, bro. It's like if you're gonna level up in the game you're playing, you kind of have to learn these lessons along the way.
oh yeah, you're gonna. I don't know very many people that like have really broke through that haven't at least lost a good chunk of money at some point, because you got to
Hmm.
learn your lessons. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
eventually you learn your lessons. And at the time, in 2022, we were buying houses. So like in Southern California, estimate would be like 690. We'd buy it for like 650. And then we'd put like 40, 50 grand into it. And the only reason we made any money was because the market was appreciating so fast back then that we would just sell it at a higher value. Otherwise, like if the market was just the same like it is right now, we would have lost money on every single flip that we would have bought. And so that was the only reason we made any sort of money. And I used to think that I was like hot shit back then too. And I was like, oh, I'm a closer. I can close deals because I was buying properties for like 90% of this estimate, 95% of this estimate. And the sellers were ecstatic too because they're like, oh, I actually did get a good deal on it because, their house, they're
They got a
pretty much
quick,
getting,
fast closing for almost market value.
and that was happening back then. And then eventually everything came down. Our worst one was a flip in Palm Springs. So in Palm Springs, you could buy a house for like 750,000. You could put a couple hundred grand of work and sell it for 1.2, 1.3. But then like at the same time that the market started to shift, the short-term rental regulations started hitting. And so nobody would buy those luxury properties anymore. So that was the biggest hit we took. We took a huge hit on that property.
Yeah.
And
Ooh, Palm
at the
Springs
flip,
also was ripping, from what I hear. I
it
wasn't
was
ever in that
ripping.
market. It was like ripping on the way up. Like it was
Oh,
going,
dude.
like it
But
was
then it
super hot.
ripped just as bad on the
It's
way
like,
down.
yeah,
What do you think about I think that there's a lot of people now that are realizing that Airbnb is not the move, like STRs are not the move right now. What do
yeah,
you think about that?
dude. Yeah, bro. So I have actually a lot of friends who are pretty heavily invested in this space, including
Yeah.
one of my friends. They had a company, or they actually sold it at the beginning of the year. But
Mhm.
they were doing like 7 million a year selling like Airbnb arbitrage as like an investment opportunity.
Mhm.
And they were crushing it. And dude, basically the what happened is like because so many people got into Airbnb, there's like so many Airbnbs and they all kind of look the same. And
Yeah.
they went from like on their portfolio, I think they have like 4 houses, probably about like maybe five. I think they have 5 houses, but probably about like a 5 million to probably $5 to $6 million portfolio that they have. And they went from like making like probably like 30K a month, like after all expenses or whatever on their portfolio, to like now they're like breaking even. And they
Mm.
had like some of the best Airbnbs in Denver. But just because
Yeah.
everyone like copied them, used the same strategy, and then now there's like a million homes that look just like it. Um, and so like that's the thing. And like one of my other friends is like, and so my point is like that business model is way harder. And one of my other friends is like works at the largest brokerage for Airbnb like buyers here in Denver called Good Neighbor. And so he does like 40 deals a month, or excuse me, 40 deals a year of just helping people buy Airbnbs. And he recently bought a house out in like he basically what he said the only deals he does now are in the mountains where you can basically drop like so I'll give you an example of the deal he did. He bought a deal for or a house for it's a weird house. I can pull it up and show you, but it's like he bought it for like 700 to 720 maybe, something in that neighborhood. He put 250K into it. Um then it appraised for like 1.4. And
Yeah.
then
Those are
they're
wins.
booking, and then now, and they pulled all their cash out, or like they pulled like 200 grand out, and so they have 50K left in the deal, and then they have they're booking on average their average nightly rate for December, which is like probably the slowest month for that area because it's not a ski resort town, it's just like in the mountains. It's like $1,200 a night is their average nightly rate, and
Yeah.
their all in expenses are like
Luxury
15K.
it's crazy. Luxury, everything is still, I mean, there's always people that are
Hmm.
making a shitload of money. So luxury,
Yeah,
everything does well. Like
yeah.
you go, there's a store that sells watches out here, like all the high end watches, like the Richard Milles and stuff like that. and they're like out. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
luxury always does well. So
Yeah.
Valente Aguilar said, dude, we could talk about this for a little bit because I think there's some people that are feeling this in today's market.
Hmm.
There's a lot of
I had
people
a PR
fucking.
conversation about this conversation, not this that conversation, but this topic yesterday with some of my clients.
Yeah, there's a lot of people crushing it right now because I think that seller, like the pain in the market is higher than ever. But it's also tough because interest rates are high. Buyers are skeptical. People are just skeptical in general of the overall economy. So we could talk about this. Valente said, "Was there a point you almost quit? What was it that made you keep going?" Um, so Chandler and I have both had a, some tough times in our business. So like I know for me, I openly talk about losing, like literally being in debt 600 grand after losing all this money on flips and having to wholesale my way out of it. And then for you, similar time frame, right? You guys, your pipeline like dried up a ton and
Yep.
you
Yeah,
had
we ended up losing
200
probably
and
like 350K over like a 4-month period.
yeah.
So,
How'd you get through it?
dude, it was honestly, I'd say the first little bit was like a really like hard on the ego, I'd say, like just accepting that you're not you're not winning, I guess is the best way to describe it. And so
Yeah.
once you get over that mental hurdle of feeling really sad for yourself, dude, honestly, it was fucking hard, dude. Because you have to like detach, like for us, like we grew too quick. So our expenses were like 250K a month was our break even. And granted, the last like up to that point for the average for the 4 months before, we were averaging like 350 to 375, somewhere in that neighborhood. It was like our
Mhm.
average revenue. So we were still doing pretty well. But because we grew fast, we didn't have like the best people on our team, and we kind of had a lot of fat.
Yeah.
Uh, we felt like, oh, we were so cool because we had a big team. We had all these deals we were doing. We were getting like 25 contracts a month, but then like most of them wouldn't sell because our systems kind of sucked, and the whole nine,
Yeah.
right? That everyone experienced. And it took us probably like 3 months just to like actually have the balls to be like, okay, we don't actually know what we're doing. We need to like lean down and like rebuild it. And then once we did that, we basically immediately started to like become profitable again. Um, but the problem was we did that going into the second half of 2022. So it's like, while yes, we were operating way better in like November, December, and January, it's just way slower in general. So we still kept losing a little bit of money until February and March. And then March, we had our biggest month ever. We closed like 502K. And like we kind of got it back on track. But most of it was like leaning the team out, leveling the team up, making everyone step up as leaders, and like as owning their own role, like fully, and then just like really, really leaning out everything we did. So like we went from like an 80K marketing budget to like a 40K. And then we were like, how can we do the same number of deals with half the marketing spend? So double our ROI basically. And it was more training basically. I'd say the biggest things were better salespeople, better sales training, being more particular with our marketing approach, and then opening up multiple markets. So like not doing like TV, for example. Like it's kind of like
Mhm.
you're gonna get a low ROI. So like we went and did more like we started doing mail to our CRM. We did a lot more like lower calls like SMS and cold call until we started doing mail fully. And then dispo, like really a lot of dispo sales training, because when the market's kind of like going down, everyone's trying to squeeze you out. So
Yeah, you gotta
sellers always want
stretch your
more,
deals.
disc buyers always want to pay less. So it's like, how can, like, so we're training on retrades for when we need to get them, because there's ethical situations where sellers lie or whatever. Sometimes we do mess up also. We're seeing it virtual. And then the other side is like when buyers like want to come and retrade you or come for concessions, like just getting better at not giving up the full amount, or talking them
Yeah.
up on their offers. So I'd say like, it's like the fundamental things like buying deals for less, selling deals for more, and then being leaner. I mean, it's the fundamental shit that makes you money. But most of it's like leadership and people, I'd say, because we had a larger team.
Mhm. I'll tell you, for me, I think like I can talk about the mental aspect. Because when that happened to me, I didn't have a huge team. So like when we were flipping, we had a salary project manager, and she was on like 80, 90 grand a year. So she was getting paid a good bit. Some VAs, and then we had churned through some acquisitions managers because I just didn't know what I was doing. But essentially, when we lost all that money, we had to cut everything. Like, can't really keep the lights on. We got to. And then what we did is it was me and two other guys. We just completely split ways, but we still had to pay back the investors. And so when I was in the military, I went through two selections. I went through a reconnaissance selection to be a recon Marine, and then a sniper selection. The reconnaissance was much more demanding, like physically and I would say mentally,
Mm-hmm.
whereas sniper was more of like a skill set thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I was going through my selection, is like they start out the class as like 120 people, and then by the end of 5 weeks, I think there was like 18. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
else quit. And
Was your scouting class, right?
no, this was recon.
Or the recon, sorry, recon scout, kind of not same,
Yeah,
but
there are different selections, but I remember when I was there, like first thing I was like, dude, I didn't think I was gonna make it when I started because I saw how many people would quit. I was like, statistically, I'm not gonna make it because
mm-hmm.
there's like a 95% attrition rate. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
same thing with buds and with the seals and everything. Like a high attrition. So you're like, okay, statistically, I'm not gonna be able to make it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the more I would think about that mindset, is like statistically, I'm not going to make it, the more fucked I would be. And so what I just started to develop was, all right, I'm not going to make it the entire 5 weeks, but I'm going to make it to lunch. And sometimes I would be like in the middle of getting thrashed, and I'd be like, all right, I'm not going to make it to lunch, but I'm going to make it through this exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make it through this one thing. And so like I had already built that muscle because, 5 weeks later, I got through the initial primer selection. And then they take two classes that have gone through primers, they group them up into one, and they do another selection, which is the actual reconnaissance selection. So I was just used to that at that point of being like, all right, I'm not going to make it through the entire thing, but I'm just going to make it for another 5 minutes. I'm going to make it through
Mm-hmm.
lunch. I'm going to make it. And I'm going to do the activities that are likely for me to make it. And so for me, like when I lost all that money, I had the same thing. Like it was a hard ego hit, dude, because I thought I was the shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was doing like presentations in San Diego on like how to flip houses and all this stuff, and talking in front of people. Like people knew who I was in the market, at least a little bit. And so the ego thing was hard for me. Like I had to really go like, damn, I'm not good. And then the second thing is I was using that same basic 4-pillar sales process, and I wasn't locking up deals anymore because nobody was buying, and the market slowed down. So I just had to go, okay, two things that I can do. Number one is I'm going to do the activities, and I don't know if I'm going to pay off the entire 600 grand, but I'm going to, I'm going to make it to lunch, and I'm going to make it to dinner, and I'm going to work. That was the first thing. And so I had to like get out of my head that I was in a bunch of debt. I had to remove myself from that and kind of decompartmentalize, or I guess compartmentalize that. Go,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like, yes, this sucks. But if I think about it right now, I'm just going to get in my head while I'm on my sales
It's gonna
calls.
suck more,
Yeah. So I tried to like
Yeah.
just compartmentalize it, like put that aside. And the second thing I did is I was like, all right, what can I do right now that would make it super unlikely for me to fail? And I realized, it's a marketing and sales business. If I can just close better than everybody else, then it'll be unlikely that I fail. Because I knew I was losing deals to objections all the time. I was losing deals to competitors. I didn't know how to overcome a single, like I would get a think about objection. I'd be like, what do you need to think about? You know what I mean? And like I would get a price objection, and I would start talking about the comps. And so I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. So that was the first thing that I focused on, was just like the skill set. And luckily, I'd already been with Level Up. So I knew like the KPIs. I had the marketing, the KPIs and all of that. But I really was lacking the sales. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go all in. I just obsessed over the sales process, like just obsessed over it. And every single call after I got done, I would review it. I would write stuff down. I would figure out how can I do it better next time. And I was literally obsessed. And so it was a mixture for me of taking it one day at a time, putting the accountability in place, which if you guys, just so you know, I know you weren't on last week. I just basically went off for like an hour straight talking about the importance of accountability, because I think that's the reason that people fail more than anything else, is that they don't hold themselves accountable. They don't hold their teams accountable. Because if you hold yourself accountable, you hold your team accountable, and then you get the skill set, if you just have those three things, like, all right, dude, it's a formula for winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the thing that helped me, man, is like the day by day and like focusing on the things that I could actually control. And I'd have to like really compartmentalize and go, okay, let me get this out of my head that I have this looming cloud, $600,000 worth of debt. And I would just chunk it out, bro. Like I'd hit finally I started getting some traction. I had my first 140K month, 90 days in. Took like 120 of that, just put it into the debt and just fucking paid it off, sent the wire. And that even hurts too, because
Yeah, I was gonna say that had to not feel good.
dude, that hurt because the
You go to
whole
the bank, they're like,
time,
"What's this wire for?"
well, I didn't, yeah, I was sending the wires, but I remember I was my girlfriend was really helpful at this time too. I'm still with her now. We have a kid, but I would always bitch. I'd be like, man, if I just wouldn't have fucked up, if I wouldn't have fucked up 2 or 3 years ago, we would have netted 120 grand and I could just put that and buy another fucking house, or I could have do this. And I would tell her that all the time. She'd be like, why are you saying that? Like, why, how does that actually help you to think about the fact like you're paying off your investors, you're paying off your debt. You learn from your mistakes, right? I was like, yeah, I did. And so that helped me a lot too. But
That's
like, cause it
good.
was painful sending those wires. But two things that, like, one, I sleep well at night knowing that I paid off every single investor. I paid off all my private money investors, all of my lenders. Everybody got paid off. Everybody got made whole. Um,
I imagine that they'll invest with you again.
yeah, I'm more like Dave Ramsey now, bro. I don't, and maybe one day I'll have to break through that mindset. It's like a limiting
Mhm,
belief. It's like I touched the hot stove and I got burned. And I'm just thinking like, I've proven now that you can be successful without taking out leverage. And
mhm.
successful, like meaning like you can make a good income and run a business without taking out leverage. And so I don't see myself in the future taking out a bunch of leverage. My goal is like, continue to buy houses cash. If I have to buy something with leverage, like low leverage, 75% LTV in the Midwest where houses might depreciate, 10%, 15%, but they're not swinging like SoCal does. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, and so that's my mentality now is like just, buy cash or, buy in areas where they're not going to depreciate and just play it safe. Because I think you can do better if you don't lose than like than maybe getting lucky one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like the Warren Buffett quote is like, "Number one rule to investing is don't lose money."
I've never heard that, but
I think that was a Buffett quote. I could be completely wrong, but I've heard that before.
yeah.
That's what my dad always told me. He's like, "Number one rule to investing, just don't lose money."
I love that. I love the like the simple things like that are because when we talk about this video live podcast, whatever we call it, is like just 7-figure wholesaling to solo sellers talking about the market. Most of the time we literally go back to the basic fundamentals,
Mhm.
like
I
I,
mean,
I
dude,
want I wanted to
did
talk
you
about
played
just
sports, right? Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
sorry. You played
Go
sports,
ahead.
but it's like that's what we always say is like my coaches every day would be like, good, great people do the fundamentals perfectly every time.
You
And
know
then
what's
they
funny?
sometimes make amazing plays occasionally.
Yeah. I remember when I was competing jujitsu, I had this like world class jujitsu professor. He was literally one of the top in the world. But when we'd work on with his class, he would just be constantly giving us like super advanced techniques. And then I remember going to this gym in Louisiana, and these guys like literally just focused on basics. Like they would just go in the basics and fundamentals all the time. And I would get smoked by them and like lower belts, like white belts. And I would get
Mhm.
smoked by these guys because they were just so good at the literal basic fundamentals.
Positioning and guard and mount. They're just like good passing, just good.
Exactly. I'd be like trying to do these like advanced techniques on them. And it's like they just had the fundamentals down. It's like nothing sexy. It's why wrestlers do so well in jujitsu too.
Mhm.
Like you were a collegiate
Yeah.
wrestler, right? Or a state champion high school
Yeah, I
wrestler.
was both of those.
I guarantee you, if we rolled, I'd have a hard time because like wrestlers just practice the fundamentals so well that like, yeah, if I put a gi on you, maybe, but like if we're no gi and I'd have a hard time because you just have the fundamentals down so well
Yeah.
and wrestlers
Definitely
crush
on
them.
our feet, I would like you couldn't
Yeah,
Flexing my
takedowns to be
legs.
impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's like the same thing in wrestling. Like my coach told me, he's like, you could be a state champion if you're a master of 3 moves at every position.
Yeah,
He's like,
I
that's
agree
literally
with
what he
that.
told me. He's like, so we literally every day in practice we trained fucking 3 moves, and we would do that in like Monday. I don't know, just random day. Monday would be like neutral, Tuesday would be bottom, Wednesday would be top, and then we just
Yeah.
rotate. And then every day we would just drill 3 moves, like your 3 moves every day at each position, and then we would like go live or something at the end. But that was like all we
Notice
did, bro.
notice wholesaling, marketing, sales, dispo. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's the
Yep.
exact same thing. It's like you master those three things, and that's it. That's all it is to a wholesaling business is the basic fundamentals. So, what's your marketing strategy? How are you getting leads? How do you convert them? Which for me is like the pillar I focus on in my business is converting. And then lastly, how do you sell them? And I will tell you, we can talk about this for a little bit because we haven't talked
Let's
about
do
wholesaling at all. Uh,
Seems like that's the general at least topic we talk about.
yeah, we do. We'll sometimes just rant, but
I know.
dude, August. So August we locked up 20. I don't know. I have to go look at the
It was
exact
like
numbers,
23 or
but
25 when you told me, I think.
yeah. And I'll tell you, like one thing that we got crushed on Dispo, and because by now you know what your contract to close is going to be, or what it ended out for that month,
Mhm.
and we did get crushed a little bit on Dispo, so we had a call. I think it was 2 days ago where we pulled up our entire pipeline, and we just looked at every single reason why a deal didn't close. So we looked at like the seller back out, was it the location, was it the price, and one of the things that we just implemented, which I'll let you guys know. This is a cool thing is we're going to go live every week, so I can talk about this in a month to see how it actually went. Is we changed our underwriting for rural markets to go 70% of our max allowable offer. So essentially, if it's in a metro, like if it's inside, like North Atlanta, hot market right now, Birmingham, SoCal, most of the areas in SoCal, they're not very rural. We're going to stick with our normal cash because we're still selling those deals left and right.
You doing like
Um,
80% ARV or what are you doing?
no, so I could actually share my sheet and I can show you our calculation. We do a little different. So what we do, I'll share it and I'll share my MAO calc. So what we do for our cash offer is we do ARV. We have our desired profit, our repairs, and then
Yep.
our investor return is going to be 10% of whatever the ARV is. That's typically what we see from our investors is they want to make 10%. And so our formula is 0.95 times the ARV. So like what the
Discounting it.
investors, yeah, from that's actually for closing costs and commissions when the investor flips it and sells it.
I got you.
Um,
That makes sense.
Minus our investor return, minus the repairs, minus our profit, and that's where we come up with it from a cash offer. And then for a rural area, like you can see, like if it's a rural area, we would offer 56 cash, 57 cash for 150K property. And then for or that's for a metro, and then for a rural, we'd be at 34. So it
Yep.
is significant. We still do the same thing for like for our novations. So if it's move-in ready, meaning like it qualifies FHA VA, we're doing list price as is, desired profit. And then one of the things that we realized was a flaw in our underwriting that we started to change is we would look at novations as like okay, there's properties in the area that are selling for 200 grand that aren't in the best condition, and so we'd go, okay, we're going to list ours at like 190, right? Whereas what we've decided now is if it's either like it is in good condition, meaning it's going to qualify FHA VA, that is where we use the actual list price. We use the comparables, and we're going to go list price as is, or it's not FHA VA qualified. And so we're actually running it pretty much the same as a cash. We go a little bit higher than our cash offer, but it's like we're going to put it on the market, but it's going to be a cash investor anyway. And that's
Yeah.
how we're underwriting because we didn't differentiate the two recently. And holy shit, that caught up with us. So
Yep.
we're going back to underwriting. We're still doing everything else on the dispo. We're doing outbound and all that stuff, but I'll let you guys know how that goes. Might
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying it's probably going to affect our contracts a little bit. So
Yeah,
right now we're getting about 6 a week. We're probably going to go down to 4, but I would rather have 4 contracts have 3 closed than 6 contracts and 3 closed. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
it's way
so
better.
way more better.
Way more better. Yeah.
What
I
are
would
you
also
talking about
say,
with you guys?
yeah, dude. So I mean, kind of the same thing is like quality over quantity.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of people who there's a lot of topics on conversion rate for dispo that at least I've been having recently with a bunch of different people that I can talk about. But yeah, for novations in general, it's like if you're just gonna give it cut and dry, it's like we're going 90% of market value
Mhm.
minus minus concessions, whatever we're seeing as like a normal concession in that market. So 2%, it's kind of like a 2-3%, something like that. It depends on the property, right? And then minus out fee of 25, and then
Okay.
obviously taking out realtor costs and closing costs and that kind of stuff. But that's been
Yeah.
giving us like where they're like guaranteed to sell fast. I also will say it's like you know, if you're a skilled underwriter, you don't necessarily need to knock it off by 10% because you're actually good at comping and you understand what actually moves the needle. But usually salespeople aren't that way. So that's the hard part. So it's like for me, it's like the person who's the best at comping is comping every deal. That's the most important thing because because right now I think it's more important to have like accurate, reliable numbers than to just like let it be anyone. But like for example, I saw this like what I was referring to is like I was just comping this deal in Denver. Um, the guy was like, I have it. It's actually a pretty funny story. This is actually a good sales topic too. One of my clients hit me up and said, "Hey, I have this deal in Denver, 405K. He wants to sell it in 3 weeks." He's like, "Is it a deal?" He's like, "I think it's worth 480." I looked, I was like, "Dude, that thing's worth 450 to 460 if it's in good condition, based on what you're telling me." And so if you're gonna close that out, like you need to be at like 350. The next day, another client hits me up about the same deal and asked me if it's a deal or not because they know I live there, and he got it for 360. And
Jeez.
cash flows in 3 weeks. I was like, bro, and I told the other guy, I was like, dude, you should have. I don't know what you did in your sales process, but you definitely dropped the ball somewhere, bro.
Yeah.
Um, so, anyways, it's a good
Do I
good
know
point.
either of these guys? We don't have to call them out.
Actually, I doubt you do. I doubt
Okay.
you do. But
Um,
yeah,
because
but
I
but
know a
my point
guy
is
in
like at
Denver who
450 is
crushes.
like yeah. There's like I think we probably are talking about the same one if he joined from you met
Yeah.
him at one of my events, right?
Yeah. He crushed. He's good though. I would
Yeah.
be surprised if he lost the deal. But
Yeah, no, I would be shocked if he lost the deal too. But no, it wasn't him. It wasn't him.
okay. Thank God.
He would have gotten that deal for sure.
Yeah, for
Anyways,
sure.
but yeah, so that I mean, but my point is like if you use the point 0.9 MAO, like it's like or market value, like you would have been at like fucking 400 your market value. But
Yeah.
I also could see how if you don't know what you're comping and how to like actually look and see what things are selling for, you could have been like, yeah, it's worth 500. So
Dude, you want to see something crazy is my dispo rep. So I don't have my salespeople comp. I have dispo comp because they're the ones that are going to sell the deal, and
good.
I
That's
just
good.
prefer it that way. My
That's the better way
dispo
to do it.
guy.
There is a balance though, because sometimes dispo is hella conservative, which I doubt. I know who is comping for you. I doubt he's going to be like that, but
No.
you
They
just
want to
gotta keep him
close
in check.
deals.
Yeah.
Dude, so if you go ChatGPT, we created a prompt. It's insanely accurate, bro. So what you have to do is you have to go to agent mode. And if you go to agent mode in ChatGPT and you give it the right prompt, it will comp your properties. And so we wanted to test it not off of like a hypothetical. So we went and looked at, like 4 or 5 deals that we closed in the last 30 days. And we looked at where we locked them up and what our projected profit was. And so we just said, hey, tell us what the property's ARV is. And then we plugged into our MAO cal. Came in within one of them was like 5K. One of them it was like 10K, but then the one that it was like 10K off, we made 26,000. So like we normally shoot for 30 grand. So it's only like what, 5 grand off or so, 6 grand off from where we actually need to be. And
Mhm.
like, dude, I mean, it is so accurate. And there's a guy, I got to get this guy. I'm going to do some sort of like podcast with him because I think he's a cool dude. He, I normally like hate most of the other. I shouldn't say I hate him, but like I normally don't. I don't like a lot of the guys that like coach wholesaling. Besides a couple of them,
Mhm.
um, this guy I think
Same.
is cool. His name's Matt Beard. But he just posted something on his Instagram that he created an AI underwriter. And so I'm gonna hit him up and see what his looks like compared to ours. So even if I have to pay for it, I'll pay for it if it's good. You know, if it underwrites
Yeah.
accurately. If somebody, because he said he spent like tons of time working on the prompt and giving it everything and doing like some coding and stuff like that. Dude, if that
What's the
works,
prompt? You
man,
just input like beds, baths, condition report, like.
more teach it like, okay, well, you missed this, you missed that, and just kind of train it is what we're doing. But I don't know what he's
Mhm.
doing. I just DM'd
No,
him
but
when I
like, what's
saw
your
that he
prompt
posted
to
that.
chat? Like,
Oh,
what do
you
you like?
can
Is it pretty
literally
basic?
just, yeah, you can literally
Can you just
just
type
say,
in?
tell me what the after repair value is of this property in agent mode and go run you go try it, dude. Or if you guys are listening, go try it on your deals. And if we can get that down, dude, our one call close process is going to be so dialed because, you know, we take,
Prompting's the biggest bottleneck.
yeah, it's like 4 or 5 properties that we're comping every day. And then Austin's doing stuff. Our dispo team's selling deals. It's hard to pull them out of that. And then they have to comp on the spot because we're doing a lot of one call closes. And so if we can get this AI built out and we can get it dialed in, I've already, my team's beta testing it right now. So what they're doing is they're still putting everything into the prompt and our dispo team's comping it. And we're just seeing how far off it comes just so we're like have a little safeguard. But everything so far, dude, has been like 5 to 15K within the MAO. And so like good enough to where, you know, maybe we don't make a shitload of money, but maybe we make 15K on a deal instead of 30. It's like, all
Hmm.
right, I'll take that if it's actually working and we're using the AI for it. And
Yeah,
then we'll just train it because it learns and never forgets. And
it
it
doesn't
takes
make
like
human
10 minutes.
mistakes. Yeah.
Exactly. It takes like 10 minutes. It mostly does price per square foot, but it actually
Hmm.
looks at the condition if you go on agent mode. So I think that's going to be a huge thing. There's going to be some idiots that, you know, they basically just like put in a chat GPT prompt and they try to sell it for like $99 a month. But like, I don't believe that that's what Matt's doing. I think that he's probably built out something better than that.
Yeah.
But I know one of you guys is sitting there and you're like, oh, I can't make money in wholesaling, so I'm going to go do that. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna mess around with it. I had a couple clients build their own as well. I had another guy build a sales call review AI.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know if you've done that or not yet with all your material, but that would probably be pretty pretty solid.
No, I did see that smartphone as an integration that you could put 20 keywords. I was actually just talking to my marketing guy. He brought this up and he was like, yeah, you can put 20 keywords. And so I do want to go around and play with that and put words like
Hmm. Like,
stress.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
probably
divorce
stress.
or financial.
Yeah, stress, foreclosure, like more like I would pick up on like emotional words.
Mm,
And like have those like send a zap to me or something, like anything related to like stress, overwhelm, yeah, financial reasons, foreclosure, behind on payments, some of those topics. I don't know how it works if it's like actual AI and it listens or if it just picks up on like a simple keyword.
yeah, or
Um,
like bills or
yeah,
medical
medical would be a good one. And
or
so I will be
behind.
playing around with some of that stuff. I love how we are
Yeah.
talking about we're talking about the basics and now we're going into like
Now we're talking about AI.
AI and
Super not the basics, but it does make the basics better. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, how do you have better conversations with sellers? How are you more accurate on your pricing? How do you
yeah.
sell deals, more effectively? And, like, dude, that's a man, there's, like, an endless conversation right now because, like, the market's just a little bit odd, I'd say, in general on the sell side.
Mhm.
But if you're and I think that people who aren't executing at a high level they're seeing all the flaws. So it's like, if they're not, like, I just dropped a video today. It's like 51 minutes long or 52 minutes long. I haven't uploaded it yet because I'm waiting on the thumbnail to come back. But I just filmed it. It's like an SOP basically for like all the things that people have been talking about, like high fallout rates,
Yep.
sellers accepting offers that are like 20, 30K higher from people who don't know what they're doing,
Oh, yeah.
which I'm sure you have some good info on that. But from a marketing perspective, like, basically stuff that we do on the digital marketing side from like Jeremy Haynes and like sales rep
Yep.
video, just like how do you build more trust with people, make them more educated on what you're doing, even though to a degree they're going to do what they're going to do, but at least if they get burned they're going to come back to you. um I also
So
think if you
yeah,
don't have the ability to close on a house in 7 days, like you're probably feeling that too.
well, for us, I'll tell you the main thing is that objection is becoming more and more common of,
Hmm.
hey, I've got other offers because yeah, you're right. Other people are using last 180 day solds, last 90 day solds. And you can't comp like that in today's market. You have to comp based off of actives. You have to be good at comping in today's market. And so
Hmm.
I was just training my sales group and I was telling them like, guys, you have to get good at crushing that objection. And one of the things is like, you give them the offer and they say, "Oh, I got higher offers than that." Yeah, I wasn't expecting for you not to have higher offers. It's actually really common. There's a lot of people that don't know what they're doing right now. Like just addressing it right at the beginning that yeah, of course, you're going to have a bunch of other offers. You're going to have higher offers. And if you're not going to be the person that puts the highest number on a piece of paper, and if you can learn how to build trust with the sellers, they're going to work with you anyway, regardless of if you're the highest price, as long as you can actually solve their needs. So that's a huge thing that we're working on. I'm actually going to run another training on that on Monday. Now that you say that, but that's going to be
Yeah.
my entire thing.
Is
It's
that
just
public
multiple
or
calls.
no?
No, that's in my advanced inner circle for my
Yeah.
salespeople. But I could make a
Mm.
YouTube video on it and just do like go over the basics.
Yeah. That's I think just like looking at it like I think what a lot of people do on this topic, and this is one of the things that you do well, as a one as like a trainer of your own team and training yourself and training your
Yeah.
clients, but you actually look into the problem and think critically and like, okay, this is not just a woe is me moment. This is like a problem that continually happens.
Yeah.
How do I solve this? Like I'm like having like I'm talking to like some like you know you know how it is. I'm sure you have these same conversations, and I do it myself. It's not like I'm fucking
Yeah.
immune to this interaction, but it's like people are like, oh, I've had this problem for like the last like 2 weeks where people are just like going with higher offers. I'm like, well, what have you done to fix it? And they're like, I don't know, nothing.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
like, I'm like, dude,
I
like, why don't
wish
you
we
think
had
about
more
it, bro?
time. I wish we had more time. I got to top in 2 minutes, but that's the biggest thing that I've seen. It's funny. I've always been like against mindset. I just made a mindset video that's coming out on YouTube, and I've never
Dude,
done
I've
anything
also like,
mindset.
I totally agree. I've been against it, but go ahead. I'm very interested in what you have to say.
It's I just talk about how like there's all these people that are just fighting for their limitations, and they're like, oh well, I have this and I have that. I was talking to one of my students in the advanced group, and he gave me like 3 reasons why he couldn't do something. I was like, all right, bro, like what do you want me to do? Tell you to tell you reasons why you can? It's like you should be telling yourself the reasons why you can do something, and or like asking me how, not telling me reasons why you can't. So I'll drop that YouTube video if you guys want to check it out. I'm guessing you're going to drop one too.
On mindset,
Yeah, do it.
dude, I will because I've
We'll
been,
compare.
yeah, I want to compare what you have to say. Obviously, you always have a more artistic way, an elegant way of explaining things where I'm pretty straight to the point and don't really take much emotion into account.
This one
Uh,
I yell, I just yell at people for like I went pretty much like Jocko,
is
David
your
Goggins. No, I didn't
you and
really do
geography?
that, but I did talk about it a lot. But let's talk about that next week. I'm going to be
Yep.
on next week if you're going to be on next week. But we didn't have a ton of questions this time. Just kind of riffed
No,
on
I
what's
think we're
happening
just
in the
riffing,
market.
bro.
It's
We'll have some more things to talk about. I do have some good news. Like there are people still crushing it, bro. Like I have a
oh
client
yeah,
who literally is doing 400K this month. Like, and he
yeah.
started 9 months ago. I mean, fucking dude's crushing it. So,
This
um,
is, I still agree with what I said a couple weeks ago. It's the best times in wholesaling since 2022. It's just you have to dial in the things that we just mentioned. So
yep.
we will see
But
everybody on the next week's podcast or
yep.
whatever this thing is.
Yeah, we'll see you when we talk. The boys. All right, bro. Have fun
Later,
with your
brother.
CPA. Peace.
All right, bye, guys.